Good day and welcome to our podcast, Elevating Today. My name is Aakash Patel, President and Founder of Elevate Inc. This is Season 1, Episode 22, and we're so excited for you to learn about our guest today, Hugh Campbell. But before we do, we want to recognize one of our clients, Diamond View Studios. They are a full-service, Emmy Award-winning creative agency based right here in Tampa, Florida. There's a photo of myself and CEO Tim Moore right on the screen right now. Diamond View Studios, if you don't know, is a full-service, Emmy Award-winning creative video agency based in Tampa, Florida. They're focused on using video as a force for good. They just announced their new venue with rare LED technology that was used in The Mandalorian. We're so excited to work side by side with our new clients that are innovating the Tampa Bay technology community. Congratulations to Diamond View Studios and Tim on your great new announcement. Please let us know how we can continue to thrive and help our city together. Good day and welcome to our podcast, Elevating Today. My name is Aakash Patel, founder and president of Elevate Inc. This is our podcast where we feature great community leaders and friends, and I'm so honored for my friend Hugh Campbell joining us today. Hugh, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course, Hugh. Now, a lot of people at home know your name in the community from all the boards you serve on, but they don't might not know your background. Tell us where you're from and now what you're doing and how you got into business.
Well, thanks, Aakash. So first off, I'm originally from Connecticut. My dad was a minister and my mom was a homemaker, and so we got to move around a little bit, but I ended up here 24 years ago. I came here in the military to MacDill Air Force Base.
Thank you for your service, and talk about that decision you made. At what point did you know you wanted to serve? You were at West Point, correct?
I did. I went to West Point. Honestly, I didn't know anything about West Point, and after you in high school, you take your SATs, and they send you a bunch of information from colleges all over the place, and the information from West Point was just different than everything else. It was different than any other college, and it really piqued my interest. And I asked my parents about it, and they kind of guided me down the path. Right. Competition
for any college at that time must have been fierce. But what was the competition for you like to get into West Point?
The United States Military Academy and all the service academies are, as you said, are very competitive. They take the best and the brightest from every state and all the territories and international students as well. So they usually take about 1 in 10.
And did you know when you were serving that you were going to go into business one day or technology, or what was that mindset for you?
As a young man, I figured that going into the military-industrial complex would be a good thing. So I knew I could have the opportunity to serve, but I knew there was also great opportunities afterwards. So that kind of had that thought pattern.
And how many moves and how many countries did you get to work in?
Oh, geez. I don't think I've actually counted them all. Obviously, we got to travel quite a bit. I've been many places. But I love Tampa. Tampa's a great place. I was only assigned overseas one time, but certainly we got to go many places while we were serving.
So you came to Tampa in what year?
I got here in 1996.
And what was your opinion when you first came to MacDill and came to know the business community here?
Well, when I came here previously and I just discovered Tampa, and I knew I wanted to try to get back here, and the opportunity presented itself. And then when it was time to leave and go to someplace else, I just knew in my heart that Tampa was the place for me. I wanted to put down roots here, wanted to grow here, and it's been just a wonderful journey for me.
And we have a huge military community. I've been privileged to serve as an honorary commander at MacDill, and I get to see a lot of transitioning veterans. Mm-hmm. When you were transitioning from veteran to business, what was that process like? I mean, you were obviously always a veteran, but you've got to go find a career. Mm-hmm. Was it easy? Was it hard? What was going through your mind?
So it really goes back to one of the fundamentals about your network of people and who you know. I was in the military. I was having a bad day, and one of my folks that had worked for me and had already gotten out called me up and said, "Hey, sir, I'm over here at this company. They're growing like crazy. I think you'd do well here. Why don't you send me your resume?" And that's how it started.
And it was just knowing somebody, basically.
That's right.
And so then did you work your way up within that company, or what happened next?
So it's really funny. So it was a great company. It was a company called Intermediate Communications. It was a $1 billion organization. They grew through acquisitions and organically, headquartered right here in Tampa. I went to go work in the engineering department there, and I did get promoted pretty quickly. However, I hit a glass ceiling. My boss was leaving, and he was going to a startup company. And so I went into my senior vice president in the engineering department and said, hey, I would really like that job. And I'm even willing to move to Maryland to take that job. And,
wow.
And my boss's boss said, you're too young. Naturally I was disappointed by that. And shortly afterwards, a couple folks approached me about teaming up with a venture capital firm out of New York City to start our first company.
And was that AC4S?
No, actually, we started an internet company. It was called Excelicon, and we were doing high-speed internet to major downtown office buildings around the country. Unfortunately, that was at the tail end of the dot-com bubble, and so we ended up selling that company off in pieces and parts over a few years.
And then did you start your own venture, or what did you do after that?
So the great news was I learned a lot. And in our first company, we had the opportunity to do all of those things with venture capital. So it turned out pretty well for us. And so I was looking for the next thing to do. I wasn't in any particular rush. So I was investigating different things. And I was approached by a couple of different people who said, hey, I got this idea for this company. And I turned them down. I didn't think it was a good idea. But after the third person approached me, I said, well, maybe we should take a look at this. And that ultimately became AC4S, the company we sold about 2 years ago now. And it was a good run.
So for those at home that don't know about AC4S, talk about what your core service was or is.
So Advanced C4 Solutions was our company that helped the military do IT things. So anything IT related, typically deploying and going someplace, because this was shortly after 9/11. And we knew that the military folks would need some help. There was a lot of things going on back then, and it continues to be the case today. And so we were doing all things IT for the military.
Now, there must be a lot of competition in that specific space, and you talk about what was going on with technology in the world. How did you set yourself apart?
So that's a great question. So our thought process and how we differentiate ourselves was we were taking commercial technologies and processes and applying them to the military problem set. Me and my business partners, we were all out in the commercial sector, telecom sector, and we were bringing that technology to what we call the joint environment, when the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines were all working together.
Wow.
And so that's how we differentiate ourselves, and the customer liked that.
And people are probably thinking, well, how do you get all those kind of branches to work together? Was it some sort of secret sauce? Or?
Well, you know, each branch of the military has its own personality,
right?
And back then, their own technology. And so fusing it all together to make a coherent network that you can do anything, anywhere, it was hard. It was very difficult.
Now at Elevate Inc., we're always talking about why reasons Tampa has swagger, and one of the reasons we tell people, besides the quality of life, which you know and experience and we talk about all the time,
absolutely,
is our talent. And you obviously had to hire a certain skill set in our community here when you started your business. What was that process like?
So we've actually never had any problems acquiring the talent. The talent is deep here. Particularly in those first couple companies where we were hiring a lot of military veterans, people that understood the technology. There's great folks coming from other places to Tampa. So we've never really had an issue in hiring the people to implement things that we've been wanting to do.
Now, you mentioned you sold the business, and that's got to be, for anyone who sells a business, it's a tough process, a lot of due diligence, and you got to find the right match. What was it like for you to sell this business?
So it was very interesting. Once again, we were approached like a year and a half by an organization. They said, hey, we're very interested in acquiring your company, and we told them no. We weren't looking to sell, and we had a plan, and we were executing on our plan. Then as time goes by, they circled back again, and they had acquired some other companies in the meantime, which obviously caught our attention. And so we opened discussions in the summer of 2018. I took the very first phone call while I was on vacation up in New England, and it just went from there.
Now, did you call the boss that said that you were too young to work at one point and show him the press release where you sold the business? Or?
No. We weren't gloating or anything like that. I think that, in hindsight, perhaps he had a plan. Sometimes it's hard to take a risk on that next generation. I have always been a fan of giving people an opportunity because typically that they're hungry. They want to prove themselves. So we've applied that principle in many instances across all the businesses we've had.
So what have you been doing since?
So we sold AC4S in December of 2018, but we had the company I'm running now, AC4S Technologies. We started that a little bit before we sold the other company. And this is what we were trying to do, is come back to our roots and doing pure IT things. AC4S was a great company. We started by doing IT for the military, but it morphed and it grew into doing all kinds of things for different federal agencies. Really crazy things. And so AC4S Technologies was our effort to go back to our roots of doing pure IT. We don't do any government work.
Right.
It's all private sector. We do have some nonprofit customers, but we're really focused, laser focused on getting back to our roots of doing IT and tech support.
Now, I know hospitality is one of your sectors. I know some other industries that could have been affected last year by COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
What went through your mind in March of 2020?
Well, my reaction was like everyone else's. We didn't know. So what was going to happen? The first instance is, how long does this thing last? What happens to revenues? Are we going to have to right size? All of those things that just about every business owner went through in the first part of the year. But I will tell you that the work from home phenomenon has been a great thing for us. We have been super busy. We've been helping our customers adjust their networks. Certainly the hospitality and travel industries have had significant challenges, but there's been many other industries that have flourished because of it, because of this pandemic. So, I was on a Zoom session not too long ago, and we were talking about companies that were focused on trying to maintain their revenues. And that's great, but you also need to focus and think about what are the opportunities. Right. Because in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And so I think all the leaders of any organization during this time need to be thinking about that because there's plenty of opportunity out here.
Now, you and I both serve on the board of the Tampa Bay Chamber. You're also involved on the board of Baycare Hospital System, and the new chair as of now of the CEO Council of Tampa Bay. Talk about your involvement in each organization and why you do it.
Well, so I guess we were a great secret, right? We were doing pretty well, but a lot of our work in the federal space was someplace else. And we knew it was important to try to give back. We knew it was important to be visible. It's very important to change the narrative about African American men and folks that, are coming up, that next generation. So we wanted to get involved, and we made a very specific decision, probably about 10 years ago, to start to get involved in the community, and that started with Hillsborough Community College, went on to the Chamber of the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce, and then later Baycare. And so it really wasn't a decision to try to give back, and also to be a visible and positive force in the community.
Now, Baycare must have been, I can't imagine what went through the minds of the Baycare board when you heard about the pandemic. What was it like for you when you talked about healthcare? It's the largest healthcare provider we have in our region.
Yeah. So Baycare is about 40% of the market here in the Tampa Bay region. Clearly on the front lines of the pandemic. We knew it was coming. The leadership team at Baycare is fantastic. All the preparations and all the things that took place in the first part of the year really paid off. But at the beginning, we weren't really impacted like New York City and Boston and some of the cities up north. So we were really over-prepared. But then as we saw, in the summertime, the case counts went skyrocketed. But the great news was we were prepared for it. So it's definitely a challenge for the organization. It is very, very stressful on the people, those frontline workers. It is very, very difficult.
And you're the new chair of CEO Council Tampa Bay. For those who don't know, talk about the organization and what your vision is for the organization this year.
So I'm very, very proud to be taking over as the chair of the board for the CEO Council of Tampa Bay. The organization is really focused on leaders. We actually call it, I call it our sanctuary. It is away from all the distractions of running your business. And you get to talk to other leaders that are experiencing the same issues that you're experiencing, whether it's sales, whether it's people, strategy, regulations, legal things, everything that you can possibly imagine. Someone else in the CEO Council has been through it and can guide you through it. So it's a fantastic organization. I was introduced to it about 7 or 8 years ago, and I just fell in love with the organization, and I'm just super excited to be taking a leadership role there.
Well, congratulations on that. And a lot of people, as you can imagine, during this community regroup, like you said, there's opportunities, are finding opportunities to start their own business. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to a person who had to change their mindset early because of the pandemic or even things that are going on, and they need help starting a business?
So first off, running your own company is not for everyone. It is a significant undertaking. It is challenging. I tell people I use everything I've ever learned in my job. There's nights, weekends, the stress related to it. It certainly is not for everyone. Having said that, it can be a wonderful thing. It is the thing that can change the trajectory for you, your family, and your kids, and even the next generation if you do it right. There's boundless opportunities. Tampa Bay is on fire. This area is fantastic. And if you're going to start a business, this is a great place to do it. The infrastructure, the ecosystem to help entrepreneurs has grown significantly over the last few years. And there's a lot of people willing to help you. But you're going to have to do the hard work. You're going to have to do the heavy lifting. You got to have the right idea. You can't come up with something crazy that's never going to work. You got to have some vision, and you're going to have to put in the effort to make it work. But if you're willing to do all those things, this is a great place to do it.
Now, I remember sitting at a Tampa Bay Economic Development Corporation board meeting last year, and you had a special guest with you. It was your son. and talk about,
Yeah.
your obviously work-life balance, because you do work a lot because you own your own company, and, what are you trying to teach the next generation, which is your son?
Yeah. So one of the things I've learned in being an entrepreneur over the years is the fact that there are a million different ways to make money. Going out and getting a job, which the vast majority of people do, is certainly one way to do that. But there's just so many other different ways to earn a living. People that run nonprofits and give back to the community all day, every day, that's certainly one way to do it. Being an entrepreneur is one way to do it. Being in academia is one way to do it. Being in government. So there's many, many, many different ways to earn a living. So I'm just trying to expose people to things that I was never exposed to growing up as a kid. I'm moving here to Tampa. I mean, getting into the boating community. It's just, something that, growing up as a kid, we didn't have that kind of money to do those kinds of things. And so I just generally try to expose my son and others, those who are willing to listen, to the wide variety of experiences and opportunities that are here in the Tampa Bay region.
Do you mentor, and how important is for, your vision to mentor more people?
So all of this is a team sport. There's very little that happens that you do all by yourself. And so people have mentored me. People I still go to and ask questions about this or that. And I spend a fair amount of time mentoring people from, going into the schools and elementary schools and the high schools. We're about to do CEOs in schools. One of our members, Brian Butler, has been leading the charge on CEOs in schools.
Great program. I participated last year and participating this year.
Absolutely. So it's very important to show kids that there might be a different path that you might not be aware of. It's very important. People have mentored me, and so I'm mentoring other people.
Now, is there a book you recommend to those who are starting a business, a book that kind of changed your mindset on entrepreneurship or vision setting?
There is no book. Well, actually there are. There are a number of books. Entrepreneurs have written a number of books, and they're out there. You just have to go find them. The book that's on my bookcase that I talk about a lot is the book called Good to Great.
Yep.
And it talks about sustained long-term performance, superior performance. And some of the lessons in that book, I mean, there's not a lot of opinion. It's backed by a lot of data. So I talk about that book. I read that book. I love it. I live it. And I recommend others read it as well.
It's by Jim Collins, right?
It is.
Okay, great.
It is.
We'll definitely have to read that again. So now it's 2021, right? And so people are thinking like 1, 3, 5-year plans. Where is Hugh Campbell in 5 years, and where is AC4S Technologies?
Oh, great question. So I think that the pandemic has created lots of opportunities, and what people are now, being forced to realize is that technology is not necessarily just a cost center, but it can provide lots of opportunities. The whole Zoom phenomenon, right? And everything that represents. I think, certainly the pandemic's going to play out over the next year or so. But, I think some things will be fundamentally different, and technology is going to deliver those things to us. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But, I will be serving in some capacity somewhere over these next few years.
And living in Tampa Bay region.
Absolutely. Not going anywhere.
Now, I know we're running short on time, but is there anything I didn't get to cover that you wanted to share with the viewers?
Well, I want to just say that, clearly last year was a challenging year for everybody. There was all kinds of things that happened, but this area really rose to the occasion. And we have a bright future ahead of us. there's just so many wonderful things going on in this community. We have great community leaders. We have so many great resources here. We just need to stick with it.
And I think we will. And again, thank you so much for your leadership in all these organizations. You're part of why we say community folks are helping our city elevate Tampa, because you are elevating Tampa with all your initiatives. And we'll love to have you back on in the future.
Aakash, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Hugh. This is Aakash Patel. You've been watching our Elevating podcast, Elevating Today. This is Season 1, Episode 22.